Hello, 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 everybody. I'm going to do a Drunken Scotch technique. It's a fun little thing. We just had an Art Fest weekend, and I did this as an example, as a demo. And surprisingly, I've been doing this for years. Several years ago, I started showing people. I'm not sure exactly where I got it from, but I don't even see it on YouTube anymore. I don't see this technique anywhere on the internet. And if you Google Drunken Scotch technique, I don't know if you're going to find anything. Just don't Google Drunken Scotch, because yeah, that doesn't look good. And the reason why it's called a Drunken Scotch is because we're using alcohol inks. Not distress inks, not re-inkers. It has to be the alcohol inks. It's the best thing for this product. And Scotch glue. So alcohol and scotch, that is a Drunken Scotch. That's what the technique is called for, and I thought it was pretty catchy, but we can change the name later, I suppose. Not sure where it originated from, like I said. But so what you're doing is using the glue. Basically, what you're doing is putting glue on something, on a die cut. I've got a couple bird cages here just because they happen to be already die cut. This one is bird cage, I think it's the Tim Holtz one, or a Sizzix one for sure, and it is on grunge paper. It's very flexible, and this is just on plain, this feels like 110 cardstock. So whatever you want to use, and you can use black as well. These butterflies, this was a tag I did for the what was it? Enchanted Forest mixed media kit at the store. And this was some butterflies that we did. I don't know, I'm trying to get some good light here. I don't know if you can see the texture in it. It is just phenomenal. I'm not even sure what colors I use, but the glue, when you put it on and then drop the alcohol inks on, you heat it with a heat gun. So yes, I'm going to use the heat gun in this video because it's a very important part of the step. So it might get noisy, but I'm going to explain what's going to happen before you actually see it happen, just in case you can't hear me over the noise of the heat gun. So here is the bird cage that I used, and the little fairy strapped inside, and there is another one, another butterfly. So I don't know, the textures are amazing. And here I've done some leaves. This I decided to do like yellows, oranges, and reds. So there's the back of it, and it's flexible. You can bend it, you can rip it, you can cut it, you can roll it. It's very, very flexible after the glue is dried, because really glue is just a polymer. You're just heating up plastic. So there will be some ventilation needed because it does get a bit hummy. It does, it gets a bit stinky, especially some of the colors do. So here I just did some aquas, and I think that was the Sublime. Is that the green one? The Sublime. And this one tore on me because I scraped it off of the mat before it was ready, and I tore some of the pieces of it. But it's just so cool, I'm going to use it anyways on a project. And here is a couple leaves that I did a little bit darker color. And this one, I don't know if you can tell the difference, but I cooked it a little bit too much, I think, because it's flat. It's not raised much, and you can tell. You can burn this, and it does stink, so try not to do that. And this one is, what do you call it? I used the pearls. I wasn't sure if the pearls would show up. So the pearls and the alloys worked wonderfully well on this as well. And now, once these are done, you can go over it with alchemy waxes, or paints, or metallics, or rubs, or micas, whatever you want. And they're not sticky. They're cool. They're really cool. And here's the bird cage that I demoed, and I think it was Dijon and probably ginger inks, just to give a different, I was going for a little bit of a rusty look, but it's very cool. You see the knobs, the little blobbies in it? Really, really neat. And it's fun, and it's flexible, and you can like cut these, the little bars open and bend them open so it looks like something has escaped. Very cool, very cool, very cool. So I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to show you the technique. I'll bring them back in a bit. So this one, I'm going to use the Scotch glue on it. Scotch glue, I haven't tried it with any other tacky glue, but I have tried it with the art glitter glue. And the art glitter glue is a little bit of a more refined lump and bump when you heat it up. But I wanted to show you how the Scotch glue works as well. So let me see. I think just because it doesn't have an ultra fine tip, that it does tend to come out a little bit glumpy. So for this, I'm going to choose, well, I've got my inks here. I've got Dijon. Colors don't matter much. You just need a drop. And this is caramel and the ginger. So I'm going to use the ginger sparingly because I know it's very dark. So I'm going to use those colors. Now what I'm going to do is apply the glue to the surface everywhere there's the bars, everywhere going around. And then when it's wet, while it's still wet, this glue will stay raised and it's not going to come out in a perfect line. You will have kind of bumps and ridges. And while it's still wet, I'm going to drop a drop or two of alcohol ink here and there. When it hits the glue, it spreads. It just runs all over. It just travels across on the top of the glue. And then right away, I'm going to heat set it. When I heat set it, I'm going to pass the heat gun over until the shine goes away. So I'm making it dull. Then I'm going to come in and concentrate it on certain areas. And that's where you're going to see the glue bubble. It's going to really bubble up big. I'm not going to burst those bubbles. I'm just going to let them happen on their own. So where the heavier and thicker glue is, it's really going to bubble. You don't want to get it too high because it's going to just distort everything and it'll take a little while to dry. But in the meantime, when you heat it, you can see if you got little bits that aren't quite covered enough, you really can't go over this. Once it's heated, once it's all head up, there's no way that you're going to be able to go back in and reheat it and try to move some of that because you dried it. It's plastic, it's polymer. It is going to stay put exactly where it is. If you do have some blank areas on your surface that you want to cover it up, you can just use distress inks or cotton ball with a little bit of alcohol ink on it and just tap in the color. That's never been a bother for me like this one here. I was a bit short on some color here, so you got, some fine bubbles, but it's not quite covered with the color, and you can still see there's some grunge paper you can see behind, and especially here in this corner, you can see I didn't quite cover it. That comes under the category of I don't care. I think it lends to the overall effect. It's just wonderful. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to start by putting on the glue. I'll get it going. And I'm just following along. You don't want to do this too slow. You want to get that glue on because this is fast drying. And I'm using a mucky mat. I'm not using paper or anything. You need this on the mucky mat. Now, I'm going to get some glue. I'm going to get some glue here and there, and that's to be expected. It's going to be off and it's going to be on my mucky mat, but it seems that once you've heated up the glue and everything is warmed up and the inks are flowing around and it's really cool, you let this cool for just a second or two. It doesn't take very long for this to dry. Well, but once you heat it, it is going to be hot. So if you think, oh, that's cool, it's like, oh, look at that big blister I made by heating the glue. It is hot, so when you touch it, you may burn yourself. So have some caution and have something to fan the air. If you don't have a fan blowing, have something to fan the air. Now this I didn't make too terribly heavy. I wasn't heavy. Sometimes I get really heavy, but this time I did not. Just so you can see, I can tell there's going to be some areas, and this one here's got a high point. I'll just smooth that out. And let's just put on, because I've raised it high, it's going to take a little time to dry. Let's just put on the alcohol ink. So did you see that? I don't know. Let me see. I can see if I can get you a little closer. I'll move this. Let's see. Just drop it and watch it. Do you see how it travels? It just spreads. It just skates along the top of it. I'll put some here. And just by trial and error, you might wreck a couple of them first, just you're not sure, or it just doesn't happen. It's very random. I mean, you can do the same technique again and again. But, you know, and if you get the tip of this, I'm just dropping a dot there. But if you happen to get your tip in the glue, do wipe it off. And this is caramel. Caramel and mushroom, I think, are my most favorite colors. And this combination here is kind of nice for getting that rust look. So I'm just going to drop these in. And I can see that it's the areas that are showing, the grunge paper is showing through. I can see that it's this ink is covering it up. It's just flowing. It's just flowing. And I'm just, well, I gave a little squirt and look at that. I made a mess. Oops, and there's a daub. It's okay. It'll scrape off the mat. It'll be very easy to clean up. That's going to be an interesting color combination. So let me just cap these so I'd have a tendency to knock things over. And now I'm just going to back this up again a bit. And I'm going to bring in the heat gun, and it's going to get noisy. So again, I'm going to pass the heat gun over this, and it's going to take the shine away. And then I'm going to get a little bit closer, or just direct the heat in one area, and you're going to see it bubble. So I'm going to try to talk over it. If you can hear me, I'm not sure. But if the noise is going to bother you and you want to turn off your sound now or lower it, you can go ahead and do that, because I've told you what to look for. And so now I'm going to show you. First thing I'm going to do is to warm up my heat gun. I always warm up my heat gun first to get it going before I go on to the project. So here we go. Sorry for the noise. There we go. So I'm passing it over. I'm moving it. When I go over it like this, I am moving some of that ink around. If it's puddles, I am moving it. And now I'm going to start to concentrate it. Let me get a little closer. Maybe that'll do. Let's try that. I got shadows in here. So now I'm getting a little closer. And it's starting to bubble. I don't know if you can see it, but it is starting to bubble. Can you see the action on that? That is really a lot of fun. I actually enjoy that part. But once it starts to bubble up, you don't want to sit on it, because now you're going to start to burn it. And it is starting to distort some of the limbs on this birdcage, but that's okay, because you can smooth things out afterwards, or just leave it all gnarly. I think I should try this on, now here I've got lots of ink where I made that blob, and not a lot of glue. So that is, I have to be careful not to burn that. And it is getting a little fumey. So I'll just take my tag that I have here, this one, and I'm just waving it to get the fumes away, so that it's not coming right up into my face. And here we go. Oh, I hope you can catch that. It's really bubbling up tremendously. It's so much fun. So you're actually cooking the glue. It's warping a bit, but this is good. This is good. This is really neat. This is really good down here. And we're almost done. There we go. I'll leave it to cool for just a moment like that. If I move it now, it's just if there's any big pieces of glue and it's going to stick and it's going to be nasty. Cool. So I'm just going to set that aside, and let's do the other one. And this one, I chose some greens. I have oregano, which is dark. Willow, which I don't know, bluey, greeny bluey. So let's do another one. So hopefully you could see that. I'm going to move my mat over, so maybe, let me see, I'm running out of room here. Okay, maybe I can do it up here. And then I can get closer. Let's see how close we can get. Okay, there we go. I have oregano. Oh, meadow I don't think is, it wasn't squirting for me earlier. Is it going to work now? Yep, it might. Okay, meadow, oregano, and willow. I'm going to use the art glitter glue on this just because it's a small little bird cage. And I don't want, oh, I'm going to have to hold it, I think, because I won't be able to get my fat fingers in there. So this is very detailed. I know with the Scotch glue I'd be making a heck of a mess. Now, art glitter glue, like I said, is not, it works good, but it doesn't have the heaviness of the Scotch glue because it comes out as a finer tip. And it's really, really fun. I have tried, I think, Stampin' Up! Re-inkers, and I just get the best result from Ranger inks. They are the best. Now you see where I've got some high areas here, some blobbers. That's going to ink up differently, of course. So let me just tap in some. Try to get it covered. So I might be a little bit, oh, I didn't get much here. So I might get a little bit heavy at the bottom and at the top where the solid areas are. I haven't really tried a solid piece yet, just because it's going to be weird. It's really going to be weird. So let's try some willow. Again, I'm just tapping it, dropping it. I'm not touching it. Wipe it off if you do. You don't want to solidify your tip of your ink bottle. And then we'll put in some meadow. And maybe a drop or two here. So I think I'm trying to use up my re-inkers by doing all these techniques, but really, I don't know. For what do we pay now? I think I've got some bottles that said the price tag of $3.50 on it, and now they're like $8.50. They're really went up in price, but you get so much and so much use out of a bottle of ink. Re-inkers like the Distress inks, it's got resins and things in it that don't lend well to this technique. I'm going to cap this. So again, I'm going to get my heat gun started. So it'll be noisy, but I'll see now that I've zoomed in. Maybe I should fix my lighting too. That I can't do. Okay, I'll move it over closer. There we go. All right, let's try it. Yep, we're nice and warm. I'm not a fan of the heat gun going back and forth like this. It does nothing except warm the air. I like a more concentrated approach. Oh, can you see it bubble? Oh, look at that. Oh, we got some gnarly ones. Really gnarly. Lovely. So I'll focus on that for a bit, but I'll move along. Look at those bubbles. And I just want to pop those bubbles. I want to stick a pin in it or grab it with my finger, but this is ultra, ultra hot. Not a good thing to do. So do resist the urge, please. Safety Owl says you should not touch it when it's bubbled like this. You can use pinks and yellows and make pretty little things. Anywhere you need texture. I never thought of it, but maybe I should die cut one of those thin branches and trees, the limbs, because wouldn't that be awesome to have all this texture? All this texture is just so beautiful. Okay, I'm going to leave that for a minute, and I'm going to bring you this. Oh, yikes. I better zoom out now. So here it is. And this one's a little heavy, so I flattened it by mistake just because I'm so heavy-handed. But I like these. Can you see this lump? This little there, and there's some blisters there. So that's what the back looks like. The grunge paper is remarkable in that it soaks up all of this, so I didn't have a big puddle left on my mat. And this is a little bit, I think it's the color. It gets a little baked. It gets a little baked when you use the darker colors, but oh my God, do I ever like that. And I would just sponge in a little bit of color to fill that in, because you can't really go over it again. But look at the texture, oh my God. And then to rub some waxes over it would be just wonderful. Now, how are you doing? What I'll use is my credit card. And be careful how you do this. There we go. Now this belonged to the other bird cage, but it was stuck on the mat. Look how cute. Look at the gnarly. Oh, that's so awesome. And there's the back of it. Got a bit stained with the ink, but we don't care. And now this is absolutely flexible. It is like a piece of rubber. It's like a, well, you know what it is. It's a piece of dried glue. But because we use so much of it, it stays very, very flexible. And even that little piece that's in there, that little run of glue that got across, I'm just going to leave that. So I think this would be a lovely little charm, or hanging on something, an ATC. Oh, this is such a good idea. I love that. So where's my other one? Now I've got a companion. There's my two. How fun. Okay. And this, amazingly, because it's been cooked, I guess, I don't know, with the glue, but it scrapes up really easy. You do need the non-stick, I called it a mucky mat, but you're not really making a muck. But this scrapes off very easily. And I just wipe it off with a baby wipe, clean it off, and I'm good to go again. So there you go. There is the Drunken Scotch technique. Oops, it doesn't want to run away. Let me just zoom out again here. There we go. There you have it, the Drunken Scotch technique. Enjoy, everybody. I'd love to see your creations on what you do with this. I'm going to be posting a link to this YouTube on Instagram, so go. Hopefully you're coming from there, and I'll show some pictures, and well, maybe I'll do a hashtag Drunken Scotch. So if you want to do some and load it on Instagram so I can take a look, I would love that. Thanks everybody for joining me. Bye bye.